And today we are going to discuss the second chapter, that is the forms of business organization. So in this chapter we will be studying what all types of business organization exist. So moving on to the introduction. If one is planning to start a business or is interested in expanding an existing one, important decision is the choice of form of organization. That is, it's related to the what type of organization you are going to choose. So this is an important decision, that is which form of organization that you are going to choose. So the forms of organization means that if you are alone, you're doing it alone by yourself, it can be known as a sole proprietorship, or if you're doing with two persons, then it can be a partnership, or if you're using more than two persons, it can be called a company. So which type of organization you are going to choose is an important decision while setting up an business organization. So let us see what all types of organizations exist. It can be a sole proprietorship, it can be joint into family, it can be a partnership, and it can be cooperative society, joint stock company. So these are the different forms of organization which exist. Now we are going to learn about each types of business organization. So the first one is sole proprietorship. Sole proprietorship is a popular form of business organization and is the most suitable form for small businesses, especially in the initial years of operations. That is, it is suitable for small businesses because here it is telling especially in their initial years of operation, because when you are starting a business, you doesn't know more about it. So when a small scale operation is done, then it is suitable for small businessmen because they are doing it for the first time, but they doesn't have much money to invest in a huge business. So for them, this type of organization is more suitable. Sole proprietorship refers to a form of business organization which is owned, managed, and controlled by an individual who is the recipient of all profits and bearer of all risk. This means that the business is managed, owned, and controlled by a single person, an individual, who will be getting all the profits from that business, and he will have to bear the risk which is arising in the business. So he is responsible for all the activities that is taking place inside a business organization. This type of business form that is done by a single person is known as sole proprietorship. So here this is evident from itself. The word sole implies only and proprietor refers to owner. Hence a sole proprietor is the one who is only owner of a business. The only owner means that he is the only person who is handling the business activities. Now we are going to look at the features of sole proprietorship. What are the features of sole proprietorship? The first one is the formation and closure. That there is no separate law that governs sole proprietorship. Hardly any legal formalities are required to start a sole proprietary business, though in some cases one may require a license. That is, there isn't a separate law for carrying out a sole proprietorship. That is, the only thing is that they have to acquire a license before starting. This is formation and closure, and there is ease in formation as well as closure. That is, it is more simple when compared to the company or joint venture or joint into family or partnership. So it is different from that. This is more liberal. Coming to the second point, it is liability. That means sole proprietorship has unlimited liability. This implies that the owner is personally responsible for all the payment of debts in the case of assets of the business are not sufficient to meet all the debts. That is, since a single owner is doing all the business activities, so the thing is that any debt occurs, then this single person, the individual, has to bear all these risks, and he is responsible for paying out all the dues. So here the risk cannot be shared, the losses cannot be shared, because nobody is there. It's being carried by one person alone, so there is no other person to share. So here he has, the proprietor has, otherwise the owner has unlimited liability, that is, he is responsible for the payment of debt. If the business is not able to meet all the debts, then he is liable, the owner is liable to give it. The third one is sole risk bearer and profit recipient, that is, the risk of failure of business is borne alone by the proprietor, that is, if risk arises or if profit arises, it should be it is borne by the proprietor itself. So he is the risk bearer and he is the profit recipient, both will be the person alone. Next one is control. Control means the right to run the business and make all decision lies absolutely with the proprietor. He can carry out his plans without any interference from others, that is, since he is the only person who has started the business, all control of the business will lie within him. So he will be responsible for all the activities taking place. The next one is no separate entity. In the eyes of law, no distinction is made between sole trader and the business, and business does not have an identity separate from its owner. So here the business and the person is treated as same, because there is no other person involved in this. So in the eyes of law, there is no difference between sole trader and his business. Business doesn't have an identity, it doesn't have a separate existence from apart from its owner. That is, here it means that the business and the owner is the same. It has been considered like that. The sixth one is lack of business continuity. The sole proprietorship business is owned and controlled by one person. Therefore, death, insanity, imprisonment, physical alignment, bankruptcy of the proprietor will have direct and detrimental effect on the business and may even closure of the business. That is, since a single person is doing the business, if a death occurs or if he goes insane or if any imprisonment has taken place, then the business will lead to the closure, because it cannot be continued, because that person is if he is dead, then he is not alive. Then if he is insane, then he means a condition where he loses sense. Or if he is imprisoned, if he had done something default and he is been put in the jail, then the person is not there to carry out the further activities. So in that case, it can lead to closure of the business. Now we are going to look at the merits, the advantages of sole proprietorship. That is, first one, quick decision making. That is because we all know that if a single person is carrying out all the activities, then he alone is taking all the decisions. So the sole proprietor enjoys considerable degree of freedom in making decisions. So all the decisions the person is only making. There is no other person involved in the decision. So quick decision making arises. The second one is confidentiality of information. As this decision making authority enables the proprietor to keep all the information related to business of the confidential and maintain secrecy. That is, when a single person is doing all the activities, then he can keep everything confidential, he can keep all the things in secret, because nobody is there to share all these information, right? Because he's doing this alone. So this is known as secrecy and confidentiality. The third one is direct incentive. A sole proprietor directly reaps the benefits of his effort. Is the sole recipient of all the profit. So the need to share profit does not arise as he is the single owner. That is, he is directly receiving all the profits. If there are 2 or 3 persons as partners in the business, then the profit should be divided to these 3 persons, right? But here only one person is doing, so all the profit will go towards that single person. Next is sense of accomplishment. There is a personal satisfaction involved in working for oneself. The knowledge that one is responsible for success of the business does not contribute to self-satisfaction, but also instill in the individual a sense of accomplishment and confidence in one's liability. That is, since a single person who is doing that, he is satisfied in his work. So he is responsible for the success. So that is why he is satisfied. But in case if there are 2 or 3 persons sharing, then the one person will not be satisfied in the work done by a second person. So there can be some differences. So here the personal satisfaction will be involved. Fifth one is ease of information and closure. That is an important merit of sole proprietorship is the possibility of entering into business with minimal legal formalities. There is no separate law that governs sole proprietorship. See here, as we said before, there is no other law which is governing the sole proprietorship. So it is easy for carrying out a sole proprietorship business. So that is, its formation is little easy, and it is easy to close also, because only single person is dealing in all these things. So it is easy to form and it is easy to close. Now we are going to look at the limitations, that is the disadvantages. The first one is limited resources. Resources of a sole proprietorship is limited to his or her personal savings, and borrowing from other banks and other lending institutions may hesitate to extend a long-term loan to a sole proprietor. Lack of resources is one of the major reasons why size of the business rarely grows. So that means, since a single person is carrying out, he may not be having a lot of funds to carry out the business. So banks and other lending institution may hesitate, that is, they doesn't give loans to the sole proprietorship. So when resources are not available, it is not easy for a business to grow. The second one is limited life of a business concern. That is, a sole proprietorship business owned and controlled by one person. So death, insanity, imprisonment, physical alignment, or bankruptcy of a proprietor affects the business and can lead to closure, as we have said in the feature. That is, since a single person is doing this, then as only when a death or insanity or imprisonment occurs, then the business can be led to its closure. The third one is unlimited liability. As we had said, it is one of the features, that is, he is responsible for all the dues. Taking place in a business. So his liability is unlimited, because nobody is there to share. Next is limited managerial liability. Limited managerial liability means the owner has to assume the responsibility of various managerial tasks such as purchasing, selling. All these activities taking inside a business, purchasing, selling, is done by a single person. So he is engaged in all these activities. So it is difficult to balance. So this decision making may not be balanced in all the cases. So due to limited resources, sole proprietorship may not be able to employ and retain talented and ambitious employees, because he may not be that experienced in doing these business activities. So he is not keeping anyone else. Since he is doing this alone, the managerial talent is not grown. So it is limited. So these are the features of sole proprietorship. Now we are going to look at the second form of business organization, that is joint Hindu family business. Joint Hindu family business is a specific form of a business organization found only in India. That is, it is the form of business organization is found only in India, and it is the oldest form of business organization. That is, it refers to a form of organization wherein the business is owned and carried by the members of a Hindu undivided family. That is, the business is carried by one family, and after one of the members of the family finish the ownership, then it is carried to some other members in the family. So it is carried by a single family. The members of the family will be carrying on the business. So this is known as joint Hindu family business, and it is governed by the Hindu law. So its features, we are going to look at the features, that is formation. For joint Hindu family business, there should be at least two members in the family, and ancestral property to be inherited from them. So for starting a joint Hindu family, there must be at least two person, and it is passed on from one person to another in the same family. So the property will be inherited from them. Second one is liability. That is, liability of all the members except the Karta is limited to the share of co-parcenary property of the business. The Karta, however, has unlimited liability. Karta is the main person who is looking after the business. So he have unlimited liability, and other party who is under him will be having limited liability. Third one is control. The control of the family business will be with the karta, that is the main head. The control lies within the karta. He takes successive generations he takes all the decision and is authorized to manage the business. So he is taking all the decision. The karta is taking all the decision and he is authorized to manage the business. The fourth one is continuity. The business continues even after the death of the karta, as the next eldest member takes up the position of karta. Since there are many members in the family and more than one person is carrying on, if one person dies, the next elder member will be ready to carry out the further business activity. So there is continuous, it is a continuous activity. Continuity is there. Next is minor members. The inclusion of an individual into the business occurs due to birth in a Hindu undivided family. Hence, minors can also be members of the family. That is, the inclusion of an individual into business. A person entering into the business is mainly due to the birth of a person in a Hindu undivided family. So, minors can also become member of the business because he is one among the Hindu undivided family. Now we are going to look at the merits. It is effective control. Effective control means the karta has absolute decision making power. He is the eldest person. He is the one who is carrying out he is taking all the decision inside the business organization. Then he has absolute decision making power. So this avoids conflict. Second one is continued business exercise. The death of the karta will not affect the business, as the next eldest member will take up the position. As we said before, because there are more than one person carrying on the business, so it can be carried on to the next eldest person if the person carrying on dies. There is continuity. Third one is limited liability of members. That is, the members other than karta will have limited liability. Only karta is having unlimited liability. Next is increased loyalty and cooperation. Since the business is run by members of family, there is a greater sense of loyalty towards one another. Pride in the growth of business is linked to the achievement of the family. That since they are from one family, so there is a cooperation, because not a single person. In the case of sole proprietorship, we said that only a single person is doing, so it is difficult. But here it is a family member, so there can be increased loyalty and cooperation. Next, we are going to look at the limitations. The first one is limited resources, as this we have said in the case of sole proprietorship also. In the joint Hindu family, business faces problems of limited capital, as it depends mainly on the ancestral property, because it is carried from the one eldest member, then after his death it is carried on by the next eldest person, so it is inherited. So the resources are limited. So there is less scope for expansion of business. The second one is unlimited liability of karta. That is, all the other members are having limited liability, but the karta alone will have to bear all the burden. So he is not only having the responsibility of decision making, he has to manage the business. All the risk is being borne by him. He have to face all these problems. So he is having unlimited liability. So this is one of a disadvantage. Third one is dominance of karta. Next one, as the karta individually manages the business, which may at times not be acceptable to the other members. Since he is taking all the decision making, every other members may be not willing to accept all the decisions taken by him. So the karta is taking dominance over the other members. So that is one of the limitation. Next is limited managerial skill. Since karta cannot be an expert in all the areas of management, the business may suffer a result of unwise decision. That is, he is making all the decisions, so there can be areas where he is not that expert in the field of management, so the decision may not be correct. So when such decisions are taken which is not correct, it can lead to problems inside a business organization. So this is the limitations and advantages of joint Hindu family.